not judge that you may not be judged. For the judgment you make will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye but do not notice the log in your own eye? Or how can you say to your neighbor, let me take the speck out of your eye, while the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite. First take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your neighbor's eye. May God bless the reading of His word to us this morning. You know, if we were honest with ourselves, we'd probably admit that one of the greater pleasures in life is watching people get what's coming to them. Right? You loved it when your mom stuck it to your brother, when your teacher yelled at the class bully, and when your camp counselor tore into troublemakers. We love it when the policeman pulls over the car that's just passed us at an incredibly high rate of speed. You know, one of the best places today to catch the tongue-lashing lectures about right and wrong are the benches of the lower court judges, which may explain the great success of Judy Scheinland. A former New York City family court judge, Judy Scheinland stars as Judge Judy, hosting one of the most popular and entertaining court television shows since 1996. But Judy's not the only tell it like it is judge on TV today. There's Judge Greg Mathis with his refreshing mix of humor and social commentary. And then there's Marilyn Millian, who occupies a seat on People's Court. And then Judge Faith, a Louisiana beauty queen turned Wall Street attorney to a tough New York City prosecutor. So here's my question for you today, or something I want you to think about. How do we reconcile the law and order approach of Judge Judy and these other larger-than-life judges on the bench while practicing tolerance, acceptance, and forgiveness in our schools and workplaces and homes? You know, Jesus had some very harsh words to say about judgment. He said, do not judge that you may not be judged, for with the judgment you make, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. So what kind of judgment is Jesus talking about, and how can we use his words to help us live our lives? Well, as you probably know, certain kinds of judgments are inevitable and necessary. So let's just say you want to buy or lease an automobile. You're going to judge or decide whether you want an SUV, a sedan, or a small car. And you're going to judge what kind of features you want in that car. You're going to make a judgment about the manufacturer that you want to go with. Maybe you want to buy a Honda, or a car from General Motors, or one from Ford, a model from Hyundai, or some other. We also judge how much we want to pay for it. You know, we make judgments or decisions about what grocery stores we go to. I think I saw a Smith's coming up here, but at least down in the Las Vegas area, we have a Vons and an Albertsons, and a Sprouts and Whole Foods, and a bunch of others. Maybe you have some of those up here as well. We make judgments about whether we want to marry, who to marry, whether we want children, how we're going to invest our money, where we want to go to church, and actually what we're going to do with the rest of our Sunday. If you teach, part of your job is to assess or judge or decide on a student's knowledge. If you're a lawyer, you decide to represent one client and not another. If you're a doctor, you make a judgment or an assessment as to how to treat that patient. And so these judgments and others like them are also called discernments. Discernments. In Psalm 9, David writes that God judges the people with equity and guides the nations upon the earth. Discerning justice includes mercy. God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for he has appointed a time for every matter and every work. Discerning justice knows the difference between right and wrong. Or this piece of scripture from the book of Proverbs: speak out, judge righteously, defend the rights of the poor and the needy. Well, discerning justice accounts for the needs of people on the margins of society. And in his teaching and preaching, Jesus also makes judgments. I mean, for example, he talks about two foundations upon which we live our lives. One foundation is on sand, and the other foundation is on rock. So he's judging and discerning which foundation is more stable or secure. When Jesus says it's harder for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to go to heaven, he's judging or discerning how strong our attachments are to material goods. So when Jesus says, do not judge, lest you be judged, he's talking about a different kind of judgment and tells a story. It tells that story in the Gospel of Luke about a religious official called a Pharisee who goes to the temple in Jerusalem to pray. And as the Pharisee enters this magnificent structure, he comes across a tax collector, hated by the locals, because the money that he collects goes to pay bills for the Roman Empire. And so, keeping his distance from this unclean person, the Pharisee lifts his heart to God in gratitude. He gives God this prayer of thanksgiving, and this is what he says. He says, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, thieves and rogues and adulterers, and even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week, and I give 1/10 of all my income. So today, it might look something like this. Two men are at the drive-up window at McDonald's. One is in a prestige car, let's say a Lexus ES. And the other person behind him is driving a Chevy Sonic. The Sonic is in pristine condition. The Sonic has dents on the side panels, a smashed-in bumper, and grime all over. And as the Lexus guy pays the cashier, he drops some change, and he gets out of his car to get it, and that's when he sees the Sonic and this guy who looks like he hasn't shaved for weeks in it. And returning to his vehicle, the Lexus guy mutters something like this to himself. He says, God, I thank you that I am not like this sleaze in back of me, decked out as he is in his filthy, disgusting t-shirt. I'm so much more industrious and successful, so tidy and well kept. If he was more like me, he'd be a lot better off. Now, the key word in this prayer is more. I am more, he is less. And this is not a discernment, my friends. This is a statement that condemns someone based on appearance and social position. And so the tax collector comes to the temple because he wants to set his heart right with God, but the Pharisee, like the Lexus guy, is concerned about social position. He says, I'm clean, you're not, I'm virtuous and in a God-honored profession, he's clergy. He works for the Roman Empire. How could God favor him? I am more, he is less. So, in his teaching about judgment, Jesus is talking about statements or determinations of moral superiority that put ourselves at a higher place, a better place, or closer to God than the person or people that we're comparing ourselves to. And in our McDonald's example, the industrious and successful people are neat. Lazy people are ill-shaven and dressed poorly. But the fact of the matter is that the Chevy Sonic guy might be incredibly industrious. A construction worker who manages others and who drives his Sonic as his go-to-work car. But the Lexus guy, he would never know that because he has a narrow set of standards by which he determines who is in and who is out. Ethnicity, race, and religion are often used to make disparaging remarks about people. In Jesus' time, it was Jews versus Samaritans. Earlier in our history, it was Protestant versus Catholic. One kind of Protestant against another kind of Protestant. Italian versus Anglo-Saxon. It was and currently is Islam versus Christianity, Caucasian versus African American, Korean versus Japanese, Latinos from Central America versus Latinos from South America, Cubans versus Puerto Ricans. And you can come up with your own examples. So how do we know that we're making condemning judgments. Judgments about how much better we are than someone else. Well, it typically begins with something like this. I'm glad I'm not like, and it ends with some descriptor. I'm glad I'm not like my lazy neighbor. I am more, she is less. I'm glad I'm not like the guy in the cubicle next to me who's one of the weirdest people on earth. I am more, he is less. I'm glad I'm not like the person who shops at Goodwill or Walmart. No, I'd never go into stores like these. I'm better. She's a mess. I'm glad I'm not like my next door neighbor who drinks and is on drugs. We may not be addicted to these substances, but none of us, I think, are really that far from addictive behaviors. It may not be illegal drugs, but it may be prescription drugs. It may not be prescription drugs, but it could be gambling. It may not be gambling, but we may be addicted to food. We may not be addicted to food, but we're addicted to spending, to always living beyond our means. We may not be addicted to spending, but watching hours of television. We're doing nothing with our lives really, but playing video games on our smartphones or on our laptops. So instead of saying, I'm not like, we might say, I might be like. Or better yet, I have no right to judge until I get to know the person much better than I do now. So here's one important step to cure our tendency to judge others. I'm going to suggest that we step out of our own shoes and into the shoes of someone else. You know, I don't know about you, but we often look down upon people that are homeless. We see them as bums or burnouts, lazy, incompetent, and shiftless. But you know, we often forget that homeless people have personal histories. They had parents like we do, or once did. They went to school as children. They may have served in the military. They may have been married or formerly married, and they may have offspring. And they probably have a history of employment. But somewhere, somehow, things went wrong, and what happened may have been beyond their control, like the onset of mental illness or some other form of disability. But they may have made some really bad decisions, like investing in a business that led to bankruptcy, or it could be drugs and alcohol. It may be maybe they demonstrate poor persistence in the face of adversity, or maybe loneliness and social isolation just got the best of them, and they just gave up hope. And my point in sharing this example is that before we judge homeless people or people like them, we need to imagine or envision a larger picture of who they may be than only that man or woman standing at the interstate exit of I-15 asking for money. Everybody makes mistakes, and sometimes they're tragic ones, but we all deserve second and third chances in life. Well, the tax collector came to the temple to pray and ask for mercy. He came to turn his life around. And friends, this is what's important to God, turning our lives around. What's on the inside is more important than what's on the outside. And let me also say that evil today is perpetuated by all kinds of people, and cruelty in any form toward any living thing is worthy of our condemnation. So I don't want you to leave here this morning thinking that I'm trying to promote a Pollyanna view of life. But more often than we think, in my opinion, our condemnations are based on a narrow set of values and sets of assumptions about people who often disappear when we get to know them. We may think that people who have tattoos are rogues or bikers, but are they taking care of their families? We may disagree with the religious beliefs of people in this church or in some other house of worship. But do they wear the fruits of the Spirit? Do they wear love and peace and patience and joy and self-control? You may think that 99% of the people who are discharged from prison are losers, but everyone deserves more than one opportunity to become a winner. Are we open to the possibility that others who hold different points of view might have something to teach us? In fact, if we adopted the path of humility, which I call the path of not knowing, it would go a long way to reducing, if not doing away with, our sense of moral superiority. I am more, he or she is less. It's all you have to come away with from the sermon. If you're doing that, we're judging others unfairly. Judge not, that you may not be judged, for the judgment you make, you will be judged. And the measure you give will be the measure that we get. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.